Hello there, this is Cindy at cindybdesigns.com. Thank you for joining me today. This is an undertaking and a project that we will be making. I'm going to call it a note card folder slash gift box. And with today, I am featuring the two Market Suite collection along with Attention Shoppers. We're going to be making that note card holder that you saw at the very beginning, along with 6 cards to fit inside there. And like I said, it's a big undertaking. It's a lot of fun, and it's a good thing to do just on a relaxing Saturday afternoon. I'm doing coloring in here with our watercolor pencils and Stampin' blends markers, so there's a lot going on, and bear with me. So this is a super long video, 40 minutes, and that is what our holder looks like that we're going to be making today. Like I said, it's no cards. We're going to have the envelopes over on the left. And those 6 cards, they're pretty dimensional, and they are all going to fit over there on the right-hand side. I'm going to have measurements for absolutely everything over at cindybdesigns.com. Like on the blog post, there'll be a picture of a card, and under that, all of some measurements and everything, so you can recreate them or wing it to whatever you want to do. And that's the beauty of all this fun. So those 4 cards, the first 4, I'm going to show you on screen. Those 2 I'm going to talk you through because this is over an hour and a half long. I really cut it down. I don't like doing voiceovers, especially now because I have laryngitis, and that's why I've been sitting for the past couple of weeks. And as we start making this, I'll explain the entire story. So to begin with, this might be a little scattered because I can only talk for 3 minutes at a time, but that is what our box folder is looking like when it's completed. So I'm using the Attention Shoppers bundle and the 2 Market Suite collection behind that. And super cute little shopping images, vegetables, flowers, birthday. The scale on these 2, they do go together, they work, and you can mix and match. With that right there, you can make this super cute grocery cart. And it's just fun and something different, kind of farmer's markety. So with the Market Goodness, which is in the 2 Market Suite collection, you're going to find that on pages 38 and 39 of the annual catalog. And with the Attention Shoppers, that's going to be on page 65. Great die cuts in here. There you have a shopping bag. And in that suite collection, you get the paper, the die cuts, those gems that I showed you earlier. And there's a picture of everything that you get. And there's a lot of 2-step stamping involved in this. And again, some great designer series paper that I'm going to take you through really quick. I have been playing with this a lot, so the paper pack is kind of butchered up a little bit, but you'll be able to see that, the patterns that are involved there. So the colors in this suite collection are Real Red, Pumpkin Pie, Garden Green, Blackberry Bliss, and Pecan Pie. I brought in a lot of other different colors too, such as Old Olive, a lot of Peach Pie. So that is one of the designer series paper packs. You can fussy cut out like those little handbags there. There's tomato vines and some good patterns there of the garden green and the blackberry bliss that you saw there. And then the polka dot pattern there, pumpkin pie and peach pie, they're an awful lot alike, so they can be used together. The same with garden green and old olive and colors like that. But there's flowers in the paper, and there's vegetables and more flowers and bags that you can cut out, and then die cuts that will cut out every single. Okay, we got the lettuce there, then the carrots, the tomatoes, the purple onion, and then the radish. And there's one other little, looks like an apple or wherever my fingernail is. There's no die cut for that, but for everything else there is, which makes this great. You can also fussy cut out those flowers that you saw there too. And I'm not a big fan of fussy cutting, but they're really not that easy to do or or not that hard to do. So other dies I'm bringing in are tailor-made tags, stylish shapes, something fancy, and exposed brick. And remember, again, these are note cards, and they are going to be, well, they come out of the pack. So I'm going to get started here and get you up to speed on how we're going to cut the cover of our box. That is going to be 9 by 5.5, and you want to score it at 4 and at 5, and that's all we need for the outside folder. And that cardstock there is Blackberry Bliss. And if you miss a measurement or I leave something out, everything will be over at cindybdesigns.com, and there's a link to the blog post in this YouTube description. So for the inside box that's going to hold the cards, that is going to be 6 3/4 by 3.5, and that's also going to be Blackberry Bliss. And my first score line is going to be on the 6 3/4 side at 3/4, 1.5, and then I'm going to move down to 5 1/4, and then 6 on, again, that long side. And then when I flip it over, I'm going to score at 2 and again at 2 3/4. And like I was saying, how you decide to decorate this up is completely up to you, or not decorate it up and just keep it plain, simple, easy, and make it your own. This is just an idea. It's something I came up with. I did not plan this out very well at all, but I think it came together okay. So moving along now, I'm going to grab a chalk pen, and I'm going to put X's in the corners that we need to cut and miter off. So while I'm doing that, and you're going to see me, do the cutting and everything, I'm going to ramble on a little bit about me bringing in retired products in this, such as the textile ribbon I'm using and some retired twine. If we still have that color in our lineup, okay, that's what we're looking like with what I need to cut off on miter. I'm going to keep it, and especially with the die cuts and things like that, because to me, it's just way more cost effective. Like the layering circles, we do have newer circles to replace that, but sometimes you just kind of want, a clean cut rather than a decorative one. And to me, those are basic staples. I'm keeping them on board. That tab you just saw me pull, when you cut the ones on the inside like that, you want to make sure that the tabs are going in the same direction, because that way it makes your box easier to fold. I am one of those people where I see better without scoring my cardstock before I lay down the designer series paper. I know a lot of people like to score it. It helps them see better. I'm just not one of them, so that is a personal preference and really up to you. But back to, the die cuts and the paper and the ribbon and things like that, and especially the twine. Like on one project, I used some Night of Navy that was from, I think, something that just retired. And we have white twine that you can take a Stampin' Up marker to color it in. But if I still have it there, I'm not going to, pop it into a retirement bag or anything like that. It's the same thing. So that's just how my brain thinks. So on the 2 tabs that you're seeing there, I'm putting down some tear and tape. Now, tear and tape, okay, I cut it. I want my folds to be covered from end to end when I put down adhesive. I don't like anything popping up. So you see me kind of not construct, but figure out where to put adhesive on the left and right tabs there, because you've seen me fold it up and how it has to go. I do have 3/4 inch margins on each side, because remember, I am putting 6 note cards in there, and they're bulked up a little bit. They're not flat note cards. There's layers on them, embellishments, and everything like that. So as we're constructing this box and putting it together and then getting everything adhered down to the inside of the folder there, we do have new online exclusives coming out next month. I will do a video this weekend and show them to you because they're really cool and you're going to love them. A lot of them are Christmas and fall. So what I'm doing, I'll get back to that in a minute though. I've cut down my designer series paper from the Two Market Suite collection. And again, watch your orientation from left to right because I'm lining up the stripes that you can see there so it all goes together, even though when you open up the folder you really can't tell, but it's just my erotic thing and it looks pretty. So I'm getting a box of the new online exclusives tomorrow, and I'll do a video, like I said, for that this weekend. And this is when I score, is after I get my designer series paper down. So that is going to go over on the left hand side. That's going to hold the envelopes in, and that's the designer series paper that I've cut down to adhere to. That is going to be 1 inch by 7 1/8. And you want to do a hard score at 1 inch, a really hard score. And that's where I'm putting the tape there. And you're going to see me kind of figure out where to lay that down a little bit to make sure, both of them, to make sure the envelopes and the cards fit in there okay. And I'm going to pop a dot where I'm going to lay down that little envelope holder strip there thingy. I do end up having to tear it up a little bit because it's a little bit too low, and with as much adhesive I put on the back of that and then took my bone folder and laid it down. I'm surprised it came up as easy as it did. I was able to salvage it, which, you know, thank God for small things like that. So I just moved it up and then put it back down again, but it's more, when you lay that down, it's going to be super close to the top and on the bottom, as you see there. And the same with the inside box that holds the cards. You're going to want to have that pretty darn flush close with the bottom, and then from side to side that hooks up with the designer series paper, because on the inside of, let me look at my folder, of that, I do end up laying down designer series paper on the inside, as you saw at the very beginning, and I have 1/4 inch margins around that, like I'm showing you right there. But the outside I have maybe 1/8 of an inch margins. That's just the way I chose to cut it and the coverage that I wanted to do. So back to the online exclusives. I told you this was going to be scattered. I'll do an unboxing for you. Lots of fun products in there. Like I said, I mean, really good Christmas ones, and I can't wait to play with that. So that video is going to probably show up. Oh, I'll film it tomorrow because it's Friday. And today is, let's see, the 6th. I'll do the video tomorrow. Maybe pop it up on Saturday. And then the next time you're going to see a video from me is, oh gosh, I'm looking at, if I can squeeze it in, maybe the 15th, but definitely on the 22nd. I'm not sure what the 15th is going to be, but I do know that one of them will be a paper pumpkin alternative for the June kit. And I can't believe it's already June of this year. Okay, so I got the designer series paper down on the inside. I'm pulling off all the adhesive for the inside box there that's going to house the cards, and I'm putting that together. And you want to make sure that you get your corners matched up perfectly there, because for the inside it is a tight fit, but it's a good one. So, you know, take your time doing this, pulling off the strips of adhesive and making sure it lines up. I always have to get it at wonky angles, but it does end up working out. Now, after this goes live, give me a couple hours to get, because today is the 6th of June, a couple hours to get the blog post up and completed with all the measurements, because I want to make sure that they're accurate. So in putting that box together, I want everything to adhere down. Having the adhesives on the side, I'm sure would have been okay, but again, I've got this thing about everything sticking perfectly and nothing coming apart, especially where I live in the Midwest, which is just as humid as can be. So I'm making sure that I got all my score lines down, everything's lining up perfectly, and I'm going to pull the backing off the tear and tape there, and then finish putting that box together, and again, checking those corners just to make sure that everything lines up perfectly, and it does. And like I said, so far we're looking good. Popping, an empty card front in there before I lay down that second, well, the other side of it. But from here on out, I'm going to end up having videos on Saturday with the summer here, and I'm just swamped. That to me is so much easier to do rather than midweek. And that's just how it's going to have to work out. So getting that down, doing all my winging it, making sure how everything looks. And I forgot to put the ribbon over that, which I really wanted to sneak it underneath the designer series paper, but it just didn't work out that way. But this way it works out much better. So again, I'm going to pull the backing to the adhesive off and then pop that down left to right, at the bottom there. And that is going to be the inside mechanisms of our folder box, because I can't think of a better name to call it. And it looks complicated but it's really not. It's just a matter of getting everything lined up. And it's very, very sturdy with 2 layers of designer series paper on it and then our cardstock. And I was happy with how everything laid out there and turned out. So I got my bone folder, and there we are. I'm going to have a blip coming up pretty soon where I do wrap the ribbon around the folder there, but I think that's coming up. So for our first card, I took one of the tailor-made tags and die cut that from our basic white regular cardstock. I really should have done it from thick white because I'm using coloring or a colored pencil and a blender pen, and I guess I wasn't thinking. So that was a Daffodil Delight watercolor pencil that I did the flames with to the candles. And I stamped that in basic beige ink because I always do that anyway rather than black because I don't like things to smear. So I'm laying down that pumpkin pie colored pencil pretty thick on the edges, and then lightening up my hand towards as I go in. It's all about the weight that you put on the colored pencil. And that's how you're going to pull out your color is with a blender pen. You don't want to use too much of it because you don't want your paper to pill, and that is why I should have used the thick cardstock because it is heavier. I didn't get any pilling on this, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So I'm pulling that color out a little bit, wiping off the end of it. I'm just using my hand. And now I'm going to restamp it with early espresso ink, just to give it some color. And I really like the way that turned out. And it was looking kind of dull to me a little bit. And so this is another reason why I wish I would have used the thicker cardstock, is because I eventually decided to bring in an ivory Stampin' marker to fill in the other parts of the cake there. So I cut that label, whoa, and just about had a panic attack because I was doing the voiceover and I lost everything but got it back, yay me. Oh, anyhow, I am coloring in the frosting part of the cake with an ivory Stampin' marker that comes, in the bronze pack too. And that is what we are looking like. I also cut out a piece of the designer series paper from To Market from another one of those tailor-made tags and cut it down to, I think that's about 1 inch or so there, popping that down at the very bottom there. And then another piece of garden green designer series paper, just to cover up the ugly part a little bit in between where the images and the designer series paper. Adhere that down with liquid adhesive. Gonna turn that over and then cut the excess off from that. Now the happy birthday sentiment I stamped in garden green during the woe incident where I thought I lost everything. When I put this card together, I did not like the way it was too much green. So I went ahead and re-stamped that in Blackberry Bliss on the same die cut. So from the TaylorMade tags, I cut out those, I don't know what they're called, the little reinforcers at the top for the tag. I cut out two of them, one for the front and one for the back, putting them down with liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to pull a piece of crumb cake twine that's in the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. They're all neutral colors, and then run that through the top of the tag. Now, as you can see on the back, you can see where the Stampin' Up marker went through. What I should have done is just cut another tag and then adhere that to behind that tag to cover up that. But I didn't do it. You know, maybe next time around, could I still fix it? Probably, yeah. Is that an option? Also, again, yeah. So I might end up doing that. So I'm finally now just getting that tied up. And then I'm going to bring in our card front there, and then two other pieces of designer series paper that you see on the left, and the exposed brick embossing folder. I already did run through, you know, the card, the front of the card of that through the embossing folder in the Stampin' Cut emboss machine. And I'm going, as you can see, so I'm getting that scored down. And since I'm going to insert the tag in between those two pieces of designer series paper there, I'm going to put the floral pattern on top of the plaid. And then when I lay that down, I'm going to put two strips of tear and tape on the left and on the right hand side, so that way I can go ahead and just slide the tag on down there. So voiceover track number 8 in 20 minutes. From this laryngitis, I have really, really, really bad allergies, and I was hoping getting up the crack of the dawn, or crack of the dawn, at the oh God, would help with this, but it has not. So I think after this card, since it's kind of slow going, I am going to speed it up quite a bit, like now, where I'm like working at, you know, warp speed here. So I'm laying that down, and I'm using the grid on the Stamparatus, you know, left to right, just to make sure it's okay. Mini stamped dimensionals on the back of that sentiment. And was this the one before or after I decided to change the color? Okay, yeah, this is, I eventually take it off screen because it does look too green there to me. So that is how our tag is going in. I decided to embellish that with 3 of the Blackberry Bliss dots there. And that is a coordinating envelope. So for our next card, I am pulling in a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock and laying down another piece of designer series paper on top of that, and that is going to get adhered to another note card front there. And this one's going to be super, super easy. You know, like I said, these are clean and simple cards. Now I'm bringing in a piece of basic white regular, and that flower bunch is from Attention Shoppers. I'm laying that down in pumpkin pie, and it's like, okay, too dark because I wanted to put my sentiment over that. So I'm laying it down again just to stamp it off and then put it down there. And then I'm going to pull in our sentiment, and that's Thanks a Bunch, and that's going to be from To Market. So you can see how these, they're very interchangeable, like everything is. And I'm going to put that down with Blackberry Bliss. Use my little Chucky there. I guess I put it down twice because it's looking pretty crisp to me. And then I'm going to pull in a Stylish Shapes circle and then run that through the die cutting machine to cut our sentiment out. And that's just, while I have everything out, I'm just going to, you know, do the envelope real quick and get that over with. So anyhow, getting up early like that did not help the voice at all. Bringing in the heat tool real quick to get the sentiment dry because, you know, Blackberry Bliss, super fussy color. It's dark, they all are. Going to get that die cut out real quick from the little mini embossing machine and get that run through. And I thought I sped this up a little bit, but I guess I didn't. going to pop Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of that, bring back in the card, and I'm looking, pulling, the backings off, and it just needs something more to it. So I'm pulling in some garden green twine that's left over from, I think, maybe 2023 holiday catalog. And again, with that, I'm keeping it because if I took a Stampin' Right marker to it or a blend, I'm going to get the same result. So, why not? Did just a very small, twine nest underneath there to just draw in your eye a little bit more and pop on a brass butterfly. And that is how easy that card is. Now with this one, those are all the images and everything that I fussy cut out, the buckets, the purses, the bags from the designer series paper. And then all the die cuts up there, die cut, okay, this is gonna be a mouthful. I use the die cuts to die cut out the images from the 2 Market Designer Series paper. Cut some more up for the card base, going to get that layer down. That's 2 pieces of Designer Series paper right there on top. I wanted the wood grain to offset it a little bit, and that is the scratch paper left over from the last card. Inking that up with early espresso, and want to get that heat set again real quick. You know how I'm with dark colors and getting them set. Cutting that down, and something goes very wrong here. I don't oh, okay, this is what happens. I end up putting Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of that, and it doesn't work out when I assemble the card, so I had to restamp it and then eventually put it down with liquid adhesive. So if you're kind of following along with me, don't do that. So as I've mentioned in several videos before, you see all those die cuts up to, in front of me there. I don't like the designer series paper to show on the back of them when I'm building up and trying to put everything together. So I'll run the die cuts through, with basic white cardstock and then glue them to the back or any other piece of cardstock that I feel will be complementary to the design. And it thickens them up a little bit, so it gives you some extra substance when you need it. But I mean, that's an option. It's strictly up to you. So as you can see now, I'm just kind of determining where everything goes, and I'm building everything up here with a combination of Stampin' Dimensionals, like at the top they have the lettuce of the carrot bunch you see there, and then liquid adhesive at the bottom. And that's going to give it a lot of texture and dimension. It also allows me to kind of stack it up a little bit. And I think it turned out really cool, but not bulky at all, because you have to stagger where you have your Stampin' Dimensionals. Like, you don't want them two lined up on top of each other. Like if I was to put, let's say, well, I do an appearing like that radish right there. The top isn't on top of the bunch of carrots to the left or the lettuce to the right. Is that clear as mud or what? But it does work out. So I'm gauging where I can put the Stampin' Dimensionals at the bottom of the barrel there. And okay, yeah, that's going to work out. But I knew at the very top how I had it lined up, I would have to use super thin strips, again, to keep down that bulk factor. When you're doing something like this and you're behind it, you know what you have to do to make it all work out and keep it in line. And that's all that I'm pretty much doing here. And so that's where I see, okay, that sentiment's not going to work. I restamped it, laid it down with liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to pop on a few more of those brass butterflies, because I didn't bring in too much outside of, this sweet collection and the Attention Shoppers bundle. So there's another piece of that crumb cake baker's twine. Just pop that on real quick with, I think it was a glue dot, and then add a few more of those butterflies. And we are going to get on to our 4th card here. But in completing this one, when I'm lifting it up here, you can see that it's not super bulky. It'll fit fine in the envelope because I went ahead and gave it a shot. So for this one, I'm kind of doing, I'm not going to call it random. I cut that down to 4x4, And when you have a square piece of cardstock like that, and you put down an image and then rotate it like that, it's going to go down in the same place every single time. And I'm doing this because I want to create a background. This is the tomato stamp from Market Goodness, which is in part of, the two market. And I decided to make it a blueberry, thinking, okay, the top's not going to matter, but you know what? It does matter because blueberries really don't have tops. But hey, this is, creative play a little bit, right? So I'm turning that around, and blueberry bushel is just another super fussy color. And you can see where I have everything in the four corners going down the exact same way because I'm kind of making my own background paper in the color that I want it to be. So I'm going to keep doing that and turning it around so you can kind of get what I'm doing a little bit. And then I'm going to put the top on because I want to die cut it out and get, a panel from that. And that's going to be put down in garden green. So I'm going to zip through this really quick. And again, I'm going to die cut this out with stitched rectangles, which is retired. We have the deckled rectangles, I'll make up for it, but sometimes, like I said, I still want the stitching there. And those are basic staple products to me, and that's why I'm going to keep them on board. So, still zipping. Got that die cut out, and I have my designer series paper cut down. And I'm going to adhere that down with snail. And that's a mossy meadow plaid pattern, along with some of that wood grain. And I have our stamped panel cut out and everything like that. But what I'm going to tie around that is some of our retired textile ribbon. And it's a thick one. I think it's like an inch or so thick. I take that ribbon and I cut it into strips. And then that way I can get the own width that I want with the texture to pull it apart that you're going to see coming up. But now I'm going to emboss the sentiment with Versamark and then lay down some white powder to emboss that in. That tool that you saw me use is from the rabbit hole. And you want the powder to stick where the ink's going to be, but this way my fingers are not so yuck with a with a cornstarch pad that we had. So I much prefer the brush. So got that down. I'm going to get our sentiment heat embossed, and then we will start putting this together. So after that's all done, I am going to grab a Swiffer cloth because that embossing tool is going to leave behind powder, especially on the darker cardstock. And you want to rub it out in a circular motion so you don't wear down the embossing. So I'm just going to cut that down to size. I know I have everything laid out here, and I know that I want to get that ribbon right there in the center to tie around that cardstock there. And that's the ribbon that I tore down, or not tore down, I cut it down. And I'm just putting that together on the back, going to flip it over, grab some Scotch tape, get everything lined up there. I mean, to me, that's much easier to use than tear and tape or something like that. I mean, it's a household tool, so why not? So I'm going to get my ribbon placed where I want it, put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back, and you see me drag my poking tool down the line. When you do that, it makes the backing of the dimensionals, come off so much easier. I know that the take your pick tool, it'll do it, it'll pop right off. I've seen a lot of people do it. I just haven't evolved to that yet. I'm still old school in many ways that way, so it works, so I do it. I am making sure everything's lined up because I want to pop on our sentiment with Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm cutting the bones out there because they're still sticky, and I want really thin strips at the top there because I don't want to put, you don't want to put dimension right on top of ribbon or anything like that because it won't adhere down all the way. So this way the ribbon's between my adhesive. I hope that makes sense because I've been talking for a really long time and I still have 6 minutes left and my voice is shot. So I'm tying that into a bow, going to, get it all nice and snip the ends and everything like that. And then add 3 of those clear dots. Now the color in that, that adhesive pack there, it looks like Blackberry Bliss, Mossy Meadow, and Granny Apple Green or Lemon Lime Twist. So those are the cards that we made on screen, popping them back in the folder. I have to describe these two to you because this is getting really, really long. I love that color combination, and it's one I would never put together because I'm not a moody mauve person at all. So I just colored those flowers in Granny Apple Green, pumpkin pie, no, peach pie, and moody mauve. And then the other card was just a simple cut with, designer series paper and a sentiment out of real red. So to finish this off, we now need to pull in our ribbon, and I thought that's kind of dark with what I had in mind over there to the left that you see I'm going to pull in, and went back to the stash and found a lighter color that wasn't so bulky and thick, and I like that much better. So I'm getting everything lined up here, and since I didn't put it under the designer series paper, but like I said, it still works out, I have to get that ribbon down to really, really secure onto the DSP. So I'm going to use tear and tape to do that. And those pencil marks just gives me, what I have to line it up with, and you're not going to see it because they're very, very light. And I marked the ribbon too, as you can see there, and that's going to go right on a corner. So again, with the dark cardstock, it's going to hide it. And this is where I'm using the scissors again because I want complete edge to edge coverage. So I'm going to put 3 strips down there on the top and do the ribbon, and then repeat the process on the back side there. So as I'm putting all this together, you can see over to the left, I have a piece of vellum cardstock, and I die cut out a basket from pecan pie cardstock, and I've already heat embossed our sentiment onto a piece of old, maybe a couple of years or so ago. It was craft 6x6 paper. It's really, really thick. A lot of the retired products that you see me working with today, go check out the clearance rack to see if they're there. Chances are they are. If not, you have something in your own stash that'll work out just as well. Now, I am a big fan of vellum because and there was a card like that we made earlier, or that I showed you how I made, that had vellum on it as well. And when you have a really busy pattern and you want to tone it down but still be able to appreciate the pattern, vellum is your best friend. And I mean, I love it. You can emboss it, stamp it. I mean, patterns, everything. Got some tear and tape, put it on the back of the vellum there because I wanted to adhere that over the ribbon. Put some adhesive down on the vellum for our sentiment. Going to pop that on. In retrospect, I kind of wish I had put some tear and tape behind the sentiment there because it wouldn't have shown through, but it still worked out. So I'm going to do the same thing here that I did with the card that we created earlier and get everything down with liquid adhesive. I'm not going to use Stampin' and Dimensionals behind anything there. Just get it all glued down. I'm using a block in between to get everything set up, and I'm constantly rearranging that basket around on top to kind of make it look realistic, like shoppy and, fun and cute and all those other things. So as I'm doing that, I want to thank you for stopping by. I know this was long, and for watching the video, and I hope that you got some really good inspiration out of this. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. After, this month I'll be on a Saturday schedule, after this week. But, give me feedback, leave a comment, and I do appreciate your emails and everything like that I do get from you. So to embellish, I'm just going to grab some of those dots that come along in the 2 Market Suite collection and pop several of them on. I mean, I think this is just the cutest thing, and you can use it for any occasion, not necessarily even a card box. It could be candy box, just make some adjustments to the inside, using other sweet collections, just pretty much anything that you want to do. So, again, I do thank you for your time. I know this was a long one. It was long for me too. And enjoy your weekend. I will see you again in a couple weeks.